Hey, Herbert here. 2.6's Relics are here on the CRIT Experience server, so today I'm going to check them out. I think this new cavern is going to be a mainstay for many players, much like the Duke Prisoner cavern was because of its versatility. We have a new DPS set that benefits a lot of crit DPS, and a supportive set that finally gives crit DPS power. So yet again, we have more signs of hypercarry getting more support, and I'm really excited to see what the future patches bring for us in terms of units if so. I'm going to go through both sets and evaluate the 2 and 4 pieces and who they'll work best on. Like and sub and share if this helps, and let's begin, shall we? So our first set we will review is Scholar Lost in Erudition. The 2-piece is an 8% crit rate buff, our strongest 2-piece for crit DPS in the game when considering team buffs. The 4-piece will give a straight up raw 20% damage to skills and ultimates, and a 25% additional damage buff to the next skill after an ultimate. Rejoice Argenti mains, no more physical set. First, a bit of analysis on this 2-piece. Maybe I'm too nerdy on this stuff, but let's go. 8% crit rate is awesome news on a 2-piece, as crit rate buffs are very rare, unlike damage percent and attack percent, which are the usual relic bonuses we get. And this is our very first crit value 2-piece relic bonus in the game. It was previously all locked into planar ornaments. Our current other universal 2-piece DPS options are 12% attack from Musketeer, Prisoner, and Valorous, and the 12% damage from Pioneer. Other damage percent buffs are all locked to elemental sets, or to follow-ups only in the case of Grand Duke. Yes, ideally you are farming up a dedicated 4-piece for your carry, but cracked relics on a duo of 2-piece relic sets can beat out 4-piece sets if those 4-piece relics aren't anything special. This means you can farm efficiently for 2 pieces if the other 4-piece sets don't tickle your fancy. As for the 4-piece, it's like the fire set if the fire set was good. The 12% skill damage is nearly doubled on top of also being beneficial to ultimates. And the ultimate activated damage percent buff is also increased. It is only on skills rather than any attack, but at least it isn't restricted to fire-only carries. For this to be a new best in slot on your DPS, they would have to have decent ultimate generation and mainly have a skill to ultimate focused damage profile. And ideally they aren't a follow-up or debuff DPS, as they would have Duke or Valorous or Pioneer as 4 pieces already. Sets have been kind of getting niche with follow-up based carries and super break carries and high hit count follow-up carries, so despite how good this new set sounds, a lot of units might have already found their favorite set. Anyways, let's see. Argenti first comes to mind. In Pure Fiction, Argenti can perform a 90 energy ult every turn, and he spams out skills. He really wants those skills to be one-tapping weak waves, or at least doing tons of damage in the case of a dual DPS composition to allow the secondary DPS to finish them off. Having what should be a permanent 45% damage on them skills, considering an ult every turn, should make his Pure Fiction runs feel cleaner, and of course the ult-based buff is always going to help. My ult calcs for Argenti weren't with my simming sheet, so this is in a vacuum. But in a vacuum at least you can expect a 5.1% increase from 4 champion with this new set. Acheron is also a notorious ult spammer who also only uses skills otherwise. In my 2.1 simulations for her with Silver Pella, she wasn't getting 1 ult per skill off, so we count that downtime here. Unfortunately, she has a set designed for her with Pioneer, and so this was a 3.2% DPS drop from that. It is a fine second best in slot for her at least. Now Jing Liu loves her enhanced skills, and her ults also chunk a lot. She also sorely lacks damage percent as she gives herself 50% crit rate and 180% attack for free, so having this damage injection is massive. When taking into consideration the 8% crit rate, and thus swapping some CR subs for attack percent, the Scholar set will be better than 4 Ice by 3 to 4%. If you are pairing her with Pella and our versus Quantum, then the Quantum set will win like back in the day, but we know that by now. If it's only Ice in town, you can expect this new set to now be her best slot. Worth the farm though? I don't really think so unless you really want the support one too. For Misha, this is slightly weaker than Pioneer at its 3 max debuff power, but this is accounting permanent uptime on the maximum condition, which he can achieve with sufficient ult generation and a fellow debuffer friend. But at least this brings consistency for him as it requires no debuffs to function and lets him use 2 harmonies. I can see this being used on Serval, Hook, and Win Dan Hung in the same way. They are all skill spammers usually, and also all have powerful ults because of their pretty basic kits. All 3 can use Pioneer too, as they all apply debuffs in some way, but again, this is fully consistent. I don't have calculations on these 3 though, but I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up like Misha, where it's nearly Pioneer level. These units probably want to run full hypercarry teams with units like Robin, Sparkle, Bronya, rather than bringing Nihility units, and there, Pioneer would fall off versus this set. This looks to be Arlen's new best in slot, even with damage percent saturation, as his other options were 4 Thunder, which is Ancient, or 4 Longevous, which didn't do much with the max HP. Maybe my friend Anemone has calcs on him. It is also another Yanqing best in slot, as long as you aren't getting too much crit rate on him. It's between this now and Valorous. And finally, it looks to be Physical Trailblazer's new best relic set. I added this like last second because I remembered they exist. Let me know if I missed anyone. I'm pretty sure everyone else just has much better options like Zila with Quantum Set. And now let's check out set 2. Sacerdos' Relived Ordeal is up next, and because I don't know how to pronounce this, we will just call it the preset today until commenters correct me. The 2-piece bonus is a 6% speed buff. Lovely, we hate rolling for speed substats. The 4-piece bonus gives a 2-turn 18% crit damage buff up to 2 stacks when using a skill or ultimate on specifically one ally target. So the 2-piece is obviously a banger for our supports. 6% speed is on average about 2.6 speed substats, and it can go higher the more base speed you have. With this set releasing in 2.6, we will actually be able to run Hacker 2-piece, Priest 2-piece, and 2 Forge for 18% speed in bonuses alone. Of course, we will neglect any damage amping benefits from 4 pieces or planar ornaments, but at least we'll be super fast. That's all that matters, right? Just messing, but these 3 sets paired with speed boots, and now a 100 base speed unit can be at 143 with no speed substats at all. I think 2-piece will be really nice for units that don't care for 4 pieces, like some healers and non-wind debuffers, as it will now let them cycle even faster with a 2 hacker alongside it. That speed can be great on some units if it lets you obtain a specifically good breakpoint. Now the 4-piece is very interesting. Finally, a 4 hack space that doesn't ruin your speed tuning by accident. Now speaking of hacker space, let's read its 4-piece alongside 4 Watchmaker. When the wearer uses their ultimate on an ally, all allies get a bonus. This is speed or break effect. So they use their ultimate on an ally, meaning any ally at all or even all allies in the case of an AoE ult. Now let's read the preset. When using skill or ultimate on one ally target, it has to be specifically on one ally. And instead of a team-wide buff, the abilities target only gets the bonus. And the wording of ability target on top further reinforces the fact that we can only use a single targeting skill or ultimate. And here it is in game. And if 2 allies wear this and boost a single target, you get double the buff. Yes, that is 72% crit damage on an ally from support relic sets. Just remember, it's tied to the support refreshing it, which means that you can drop the buff if not always refreshing it, especially in the case of heavy advanced teams like Sparkle Bronya or units like E2 Lune. You can only reliably pull the double combo off with Tingyun Sparkle right now, from what I can tell. It is still powerful though on 2 harmonies that can use it though, even if it won't always be maximized. Before we start looking at units, if it turns out to be a new best in slot for a unit, remember that the set won't magically save your runs, it'll just be a nice crit damage buff to a single DPS. If you farmed like hell for a 160 speed Sparkle already, you can stick with that. Don't feel pressured. Anyway, let's check out our harmony roster one by one. Robin targets herself on her skill and ult, so it technically works, just not in the way you'd want. This gives herself the crit damage buff, but unfortunately she has a fixed 150% crit damage during Concerto. Sparkle of course targets one ally every skill, and she'll be spamming that bad boy all the time. If you use Windset for specific zero cycle tuning, you wouldn't swap to this I imagine, but this is her best relic set for pure damage amp, and further increases her crit damage buffing. Not only do we get like 100% crit damage from her skill already, a further perma 36% on top to an ally will do very nicely. You'll definitely want to invest on more crit rate on your carry now to skew the ratio in a better manner. Ruan Mei targets one ally on her skill, herself like Robin, and her ult is AoE, so stick with what she usually has, probably a nice Watchmaker set. Bronya is the OG Sparkle and works in the same fashion with this set. In her best setups, she can skill spam, which means this will work perfectly for her, free crit damage for your ally. And again, if you're using Windset for a specific scenario that you know works, stick with that, but this will be the best for her when not going super crazy into min-maxing. Harmony MC attacks on skill and targets all allies on ult, and they use Watchmaker anyway usually. Anya attacks on skill and targets a single ally on ult, so she could use it, but you've probably already farmed for 190 speed Hanya on hack space already, as she can't cycle fast enough to do another ult in the time that your DPS wears out the buff. Yukong targets herself on her skill, but even if you wanted to be a sussy crit DPS Yukong enjoyer, then there are better sets out there. Ting Yun targets a single ally on both her skill and ult. Just like Spark on Bronya, new best in slot for her if you're not using some crazy wind tech. Asta attacks on her skill and targets all allies on ult, the no-go for her, sadly. Now for some non-harmony units that target a single ally. Jade Deck Collector targets one ally, but she doesn't want to spam it, and her damage should be prioritized with Quantum Duke or Valorous. Yun Li on her ult targets herself, but Valorous and Duke are better. Clara does the same, but yeah, other sets are better. Blade on his skill targets himself, but he can't skill every turn anyway, and Longevous exists. Some healers and shielders target one ally, and for healers it could work somewhat, but ideally sustain spam as many basics as possible to provide SP for the main carries. So I'd prefer just running the 2-piece for the speed if anything. And if you're wondering if the bounce of Bailu's skill works, it doesn't sadly. As for shielders, the bonus power from 4 Knight is just too strong. Basically, it's only a hypercarry support set, and since it is Sunday themed, then maybe he'll be a hypercarry support. Just like Akron on her 4-piece design set, and just like we run Blade on 4 Passerby. Wait a second. So I hope this video helps you out to maybe start planning on who you're going to farm for next. These two sets are really cool and unique, and fill out some new niches in Star Rail. Let me know if you're planning to farm these new sets and for who. Anyways, like and sub if this helped for more videos like this. And thanks to my amazing YouTube members, thank you for watching and have a Guoba day.